Welcome! As we dive into making your jump cuts feel less like a jarring jolt and more like a genuinely slick, professional edit. Let's jump right into the essentials, starting with understanding exactly what a jump cut is in the first place. Essentially, it's when you remove a chunk of time from one continuous shot, causing the subject to abruptly snap forward or change their stance instantly. Filmmakers traditionally use this technique to effectively convey that significant time is passing within a scene, moving the narrative forward quickly. For online creators, the primary use is trimming out all those distracting filler words like ums, ahs, and any other boring dead air to maintain a tight pace. You have absolutely seen this edit style hundreds, if not thousands of times across all your favorite platforms. However, when too many of these cuts accumulate, or if they feel carelessly executed, they quickly become a major distraction for the viewer. Ideally, we always strive to nail that perfect take in one clean recording. But let's be honest, for fast-paced online content, jump cuts are often entirely unavoidable. So, let's explore several practical methods you can implement right now to effectively hide those rough transitions, from simple fixes to slightly more involved effects. We'll begin with the classic foundational technique, faking a second camera angle by simply reframing your existing footage. Do not overcomplicate this step. In almost any non-linear editor, you can scale and reposition your clip to create the illusion of a fresh perspective. If you originally filmed your main talking headshot in high resolution like 4K, you naturally have ample room to zoom, crop, and shift the subject around. This seemingly small repositioning adjustment makes the cut feel deliberate and intentional, rather than a clumsy accidental edit. A great pro tip is to slightly vary the amount of repositioning you apply between subsequent cuts, so the viewer isn't staring at the exact same composition repeatedly. But please, don't overdo this trick. Constantly zooming in every few seconds can actually cause your audience to feel dizzy or disoriented. An even better solution, if you have the resources, is to simply set up and utilize a completely second camera for alternate angles. If you anticipate that your main talking segment will have a few awkward sections, having that backup angle is an absolute lifesaver in the edit. Once you sync both shots perfectly, you can cut between them seamlessly, and almost every single jump cut will instantly vanish from sight. If you are only juggling two cameras, simple layer toggling between them is perfectly sufficient, but use a multicam workflow for 3 or more feeds. The core goal here is introducing visual variety so the edit never feels like the same speech spliced awkwardly back together. Failing a zoom or an alternate angle solution, your next best strategy is to completely cover the offending cut point. This is where supplemental B-roll footage becomes your absolute best friend in the entire editing process. Cutaway to any related footage, whether it's something you shot, a stock clip, or even a screen recording, that reinforces what you are currently saying. It is critically important that whatever B-roll you select must logically match the topic you are discussing in the dialogue at that exact moment. Whenever possible, you should aim to trigger the B-roll clip to start just a tiny fraction of a second before the actual jump cut occurs. If you trigger the cut and the new visual simultaneously, the sudden audio change combined with the visual shift makes your edit immediately obvious. But if the new clip starts even just slightly before, both the viewer's eye and ear are already engaged, making the edit essentially invisible. Even simple audio smoothing techniques can provide a surprisingly significant amount of help in masking these transitions effectively. Specifically, drag a very tiny crossfade onto the audio track at every single cut point to completely eliminate any potential clicks or pops. If you are dealing with an abundance of cuts, set your audio transition default to a very short duration, perhaps 2 or 3 frames, and apply them across the whole assembly. Taking this one small extra step in your workflow massively reduces those annoying, weird audio artifacts and makes your cuts feel properly glued together. Another fantastic trick involves skillfully hiding the jump cut in plain sight by utilizing a well-timed graphic or a dynamic animation. You can throw in a title card, a custom lower third banner, or any overlay that animates right at the precise moment the cut happens to distract the eye. To make the effect even cleaner and more professional, add an adjustment layer underneath the graphic and keyframe, a slight blur or opacity change synced to the animation. Consider adding a subtle, dark, semi-transparent matte layer directly beneath your main graphic to help that overlay pop off the background more effectively. Because the animation itself becomes the immediate focus of attention, the audience will completely overlook the couple of frames you actually removed from the shot. This specific technique works best when the speaker on screen is not making extremely large, sudden physical movements across the frame boundaries. It functions as a subtle but effective distraction, not a miracle cure for truly massive, poorly framed jumps. The often underrated technique of using motion blur transitions can be incredibly powerful when applied correctly to your cuts. You should treat the jump cut itself as a miniature, intentional transition by applying a transform style effect across the cut point. Increase the shutter angle or motion blur value significantly, and then ease your keyframes to guarantee a much smoother overall visual movement. Pairing that effect with just a minuscule cross dissolve can make the movement read like an intentional snappy whip pan or a quick push. If the subject ends up perfectly centered and unaffected by the motion blur, slightly nudge the position keyframe so they move off center during the blur. The subtle motion smear now slides directly over the cut point, effectively causing the edit to disappear completely into the motion. If you want to sell this effect even harder, pair the motion blur with a matching graphic element that slides into the frame concurrently. Ultimately, professional sound design is the invisible glue that holds all of these complex visual transitions together perfectly. A small whoosh, a satisfying punch sound, or a matching swell timed perfectly with your graphic or zoom makes the transition feel intentional. Also, experiment with manipulating your background music. A quick volume duck, a stinger sound, or a beat hitting on the cut can mask issues and boost energy. Never underestimate the profound power of audio to control perception. A tiny sound effect can completely hide a visually obvious edit. Regarding the difficult subject of dialogue cuts, your first rule should always be to carefully examine the audio waveform for visual clues. Avoid cutting directly in the middle of words unless you are in an absolutely desperate situation where no other option exists. Instead, always look for a natural breath or a slight pause between phrases and execute your cut precisely at that moment. If you are forced to chop between two words that run together, those small edits can unfortunately introduce unnatural clicks or an odd tonal shift. When this occurs, use a short crossfade on the audio and, if necessary, manually adjust gain keyframes to smooth out any abrupt volume jumps. Sometimes one sentence ends at a softer volume while the next one begins louder, and that contrast immediately draws attention to a subtle cut. Implementing batch audio fixes after your main assembly is a massive time-saving component of any efficient editing workflow. After you have initially cut all of your core talking footage together, select every single clip and apply that short audio transition across the entire selection. You can also change your editor's default audio transition setting to a very short duration, so one single keystroke applies the fix everywhere. For those longer talking head videos that require tons of trimming, this tiny automation step truly becomes a huge workflow win for you. One final, slightly more advanced concept is to combine several tricks into one powerful, singular moment for maximum impact. Merge a subtle zoom, a controlled motion blur, a fast sliding graphic, and a well-timed whoosh sound all into the same instant. This composite move reads instantly like a deliberate, artistic edit choice, and never like a bandage over a sloppy, unscripted take. As editors, we are essentially visual magicians, and skillful distraction is genuinely the core of our entire craft. The better you become at creating that distraction, the less your audience will ever notice the subtle surgery you performed on the footage. Now that you have these great editing tricks, let's talk about the tools that can save you hours by automating the initial hard work. If you are still manually hunting down every single cut point and trimming every clip by hand, you are certainly wasting an enormous amount of valuable time. This is precisely where the power of modern AI tools, such as Vizard, can step in and fundamentally change your process. These intelligent platforms automatically find the most engaging, viral-worthy moments inside your long videos and splice them into ready-to-post clips. This capability saves you a significant amount of difficult guesswork, letting you skip the most tedious part of the entire workflow. Instead of scrubbing through 8 hours of raw footage, you receive a highly curated set of the absolute best highlights to easily choose from. This shift allows you to focus your precious creative energy on the good stuff, layering the perfect B-roll, refining graphics, and dialing in the audio mix. Compared to many other stock and asset sites or single-purpose editors available, these alternatives are often either cumbersome or far too expensive. Some platforms may offer one-off licenses that carry a hefty price tag, or their integrations force you to constantly bounce between multiple applications, which destroys momentum. Other services are great for providing visual assets, but they honestly don't offer any functional help in automatically selecting the parts that actually perform well. A tool like Vizard bridges that crucial gap by helping you find the best performing moments, automatically formatting for vertical or square viewing, and much more. The integrated calendar and auto-scheduling feature is huge because it ensures your content actually gets posted consistently after being created. It's one thing to successfully create compelling content. It's an entirely different beast to manage the consistent publishing cadence required for growth. The auto-schedule simply requires you to set your desired frequency, and the system handles the actual posting cadence entirely for you. This feature completely eliminates those stressful moments where you find yourself uploading late at night just to stay on schedule. Furthermore, the dedicated content calendar within the platform is much more than just a visually pleasing way to view your schedule. It serves as the central hub where you can meticulously review, make final tweaks, and formally approve every single clip before it ever goes live to the public. You retain the crucial ability to adjust captions, swap out chosen thumbnails, and easily rearrange post order without ever leaving that single centralized platform. For any creator managing multiple channels or constantly repurposing long shows into several short clips, this centralized workflow is frankly priceless. While other services might hand you beautiful templates or assets, you still end up doing the heavy, time-consuming lifting of finding the moments and scheduling everything yourself. With Vizard, you effectively shave off entire working hours every single week by automating those core, repetitive tasks. Let's quickly summarize a practical workflow to tie all these concepts together for immediate implementation in your next project. First, always record your main takes in the widest, highest resolution frame possible, ideally utilizing a second camera when you can manage it. Next, allow the AI tool to scan that footage and immediately pull a selection of candidate clips that it flags as potentially engaging. From there, select the very best moments, add your B-roll to start slightly before the cut point, and apply tiny audio fades to all dialogue trims. For any remaining unavoidable jump cuts, implement the reframing trick or the motion blur technique, paired with a graphic and a nice whoosh sound. Finalize the look in your main editor. Then either manually push the finished file to your own calendar or let the platform auto-schedule it for immediate publishing. There is no single magic method that solves every single jump cut problem you will ever encounter across your projects. However, by skillfully mixing these professional techniques, reframing, alternate angles, B-roll, graphics, blur, and smart audio work, your edits become much cleaner and vastly more watchable. If you are eager to spend significantly less time hunting down those key viral clips and more time polishing and publishing seriously investigated tool like Vizard, it may not be the perfect choice for every single producer. Some niche filmmakers demand absolute manual control, but for volume creators, it is a massive productivity game changer. If you found these editing tips and workflow hacks genuinely helpful, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe for more valuable content. Keep putting your valuable energy into creating content that truly matters to your audience. And remember this simple truth: smart tricks beat endless perfectionism every time. Thank you for watching this breakdown, and I will catch you all in the next video with more editing secrets.